All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome. One of those videos down in the lower angles of things. Shoot, funny. Okay, today is the 10th of November 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and I want this to be unconventional. I want it to be a little bit low angled because it needs to be. I'm going to be showing the feet, but here's the thing. This is the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. One of our fourths. What we do is allow the human body to work. Okay, the human body and its center line on Earth's center of gravity. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, stabilizing the entire body naturally. The jaw has to stay in the center as well as all the other things that are in the center of the body. Okay, musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder into the sternum, in the center, in the front, on both sides, evenly. From the outside of the shoulder into the spine in the rear, on both sides, in the center evenly. Okay. There's a center line to the body, there's a center line to Earth's gravity. We place clothing on our bodies, hence the word clothing, and the other word company, okay? In the image of Jesus Christ is how we're all designed. Our bodies can only work one way. They're just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. Everything has a neutral position, and the body has a center line, okay? In the Image Clothing Company, allowing the body to work. The only thing you can do, you can't train the human being. It's physically impossible. There's just a neutral. You can't train to a neutral. There's a neutral in rotations. Internal rotation and external rotation from the neutral, okay? In the hand up to the elbow, in the forearm, and then in the hand up to the shoulder, the entire arm, and then the same with the feet, okay? From the feet up to the knees and the lower legs, there's internal and external rotation. From the feet up to the hips, the entire leg, internal and external rotation from a neutral. Okay, watch this. Here, just from the knee down to the foot, internal and external, and then the whole leg, internal and external. From the knee down, internal and external, and then from the foot and up to the hip, the entire leg, internal and external. Okay, rotations from a neutral, straight out the pinky toe forward, straight out the pinky finger forward, neutral, okay? So, clothing placed on us physically has to stay centered, it has to fit correct. Where we discuss clothing has to sit for everybody, it's the same, right? Universal human design, what we're getting down to, because there's only one way the human body could ever work. And be made from 100% natural materials where we can. We have to, because all musculature in the body only contracts, okay? Stretch within clothing is one of those things that just is only decades old as of today's date. It's very damaging to the body. Stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work, okay? All musculature in the body only contracts, meaning getting shorter, but there's opposing muscles. So as one side shortens, the other side relaxes. And now this side shortens and the other side relaxes. That's how the function is able to happen. Okay, of whatever it is in the body that has motion, just being a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. Okay, the human being on Earth. Now, this is what we do on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, is we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing. We'll always have good clothing to allow the body to work. But the big thing is, with this video, I guess I haven't said what it's titled yet, which is fine. Keeping the feet in the outside of shoes. Okay, a little explanation on what I mean. Inside of our shoe insides, there you go, the feet will naturally just work on the outside of the inner part of our shoes, okay? We've got videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled, well, lots of things, right, about the feet. Always stop lacing at ankle flexion, okay? At the angle of the ankle, if you will, right? There you go. The importance of zero drop shoes, the term with just no elevation of heels on the shoes, because it'll change the mechanical workings of the entire body all the way up to the tip of the head and the tips of the fingers, okay? If we put heels under our feet, when our feet would just naturally be on the earth, you know, they elevate either direction where they do to accommodate for things, but there's just a flatness or a horizontalness to the surface of what we're walking on, you know, unless we're actually on an incline or a decline, having a heel under our shoes is just a man-made thing placed under our feet, altering the angles of our body throughout all of it, okay? In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, just the only way the human feet are shaped is what we title how to weave a rope across the feet. My Zero Ridgeway boots, okay, Zero shoes, the brand, these are from them. They're the Ridgeway model. They're laced with just, we can leave our titling out of it and just say the only way the human feet are shaped, but what we title in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, okay? There's only one way the human feet are shaped. Is a video as well under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, okay? So we've got a lot of things talking about the feet. You know, we would just talk about the feet in a lot of ways. The height of a gripped arch, the importance of the proper height socks to not alter the musculature's activation or the ankle's ability to just be neutral. Okay, we've got so many things talking about the feet and talking about the ankles, and so much so that I'm gonna sit down for a second because I kind of wanna like relax into what I'm saying here before we even talk about this video. All these videos that I have and that I'm able to reference, that's why I'm making these videos like this at this time. You know, a little over a year into In the Image Clothing Company, the way I'm able to reference all these videos is because all of the videos that I have made up until this point, giving context on who we are, why you would even care about what we do, and the fact that we give information that applies to every single human on the face of the earth. Like I say when I talk about where clothing sits, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. And we're all the same. The body just works how it does. You can sit in an anatomy class and learn all the musculature, tendons, ligaments, and bones of the body and how they connect and work and operate. And there's only one way, okay? So that's what we do here under In the Image Clothing Company. Because we get into chronic patterning and scar tissue. That's what we label it as, how we explain it, because it's easy to understand that way. With things like oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing, and ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces or drawstrings potentially tied one side over the other, rotating the entire body, right? And so, yeah, they're just a center line to the human being. And after we're in all these patterns and scar tissue gets built up, and in this right-handed world, you know, 85% give or take of human beings across the whole earth are right-handed. So we get into patternings where the right side of our body gets dropped lower, externally rotated away from the body's center line, okay? And all the musculature over here is being pulled on, and our jaw stabilizing our entire body is being pulled from essentially our hand. But really the hand is the shoulder, and so directly from the shoulder, you know, our whole body's just being pulled off, okay? From our feet with uneven shoe tying, from our hips with rotated drawstring knots, right? Or anything in clothing at all. We talk about a lot of imbalances, a lot of free modifications. But that's what we do, is we show how to live in a modern man-made world that is placed onto God's natural earth, okay? That just has things that it never possibly could have had and that human beings never had to deal with until recent times, okay? That's why we're in these, you know, situations that we're in. People have all this persistent pain and problems and stuff. One of the big things is people's feet don't work, okay? I was one of them. That's what I explain it, I make it clear. You can watch my own visual and physical transformation, truly, of my own body, just getting out of patterning. It's impossible to get the body to do anything. Physically, mechanically, it's impossible. There's just a neutral. There's no way you can possibly train to a neutral, okay? Despite popular opinion or belief. God designed the body, all we can do is allow it to work. But you can watch my body get out of these patterns and just, you know, from any very first documented information visually under In the Image Clothing Company until any current date, just me, Evan Strong, being the founder. You know, we do so much under the gift of video and always do and will. So, you know, it just is what it is. And you can just tell how my body works so much differently now, because I was like this in the past. I was in the same patternings that it sounds like I'm just like yelling at people and talking down on people about. Well, only because I know the extent of the damage and pain, and I know the actual true fixes and the reasons why. Clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. It's the only thing physically placed on us. But we don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know, and really we're damaging our own bodies a lot, right? We talk about eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything that we do as a human being, and just doing it natural. The goal is natural on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. And yeah, man, we do the same thing for dogs. On another fourth of us in The Image Clothing Company, poodles. We specialize in purebred poodles, but we give information that applies to all dogs with letting dogs stay natural. Same thing as allowing the body to work for human beings. We just phrase it different because it's a different fourth to what we are as a whole. It's kind of its own company in a sense, right? All four sides are, but we're all just one 5-word name, In The Image Clothing Company, okay? I'll talk about the other two sides of In The Image Clothing Company in here where I do, but people's feet, man, and mine as well, right? Until a couple years ago, give or take, from today's date. Today is the date that I said at the beginning. I'll say it again at the end, okay? My feet didn't work how feet work for a long time, for years of my life, okay? The pinky toe is straight forward because we've got a neutral. There's this nice slight outward curvature of the lower leg through the bones, through the ankle joint and down to the heel of our foot, which is what's sitting on the ground, right? With me sitting now on the ground. With this slight outward curvature, we follow the outside of the lower leg and we go straight forward out the pinky toe. Look at this. We follow the outside of the forearm and we go straight forward out the pinky finger. Now watch this. Internal, external, hand and foot, internal, external. The human body is so simple. Truly, that's how it works. Neutral, internal, external. Rotations, internal, external, internal, external, straight out from the pinky toe. Our toes are angled differently in length. They come from the pinky toe being the shortest up and in to the big toe being the longest. And they kind of point like an arrow. If I put my toes together like this, my feet together, my toes will point kind of forward and centered, okay, in the length of them. When we walk, we roll evenly off the toes that are just slanted backward like this, from the center back and down to the pinky toes, from the big toes, right? So when we walk, we actually roll inward slightly. That's just how it works. You just have different length toes, and you're gonna put pressure on them evenly to just be efficient. Well, that's just how God designed it, but that's what happens. That's why it's the most efficient, because it's God's design. He's perfect. What needs to happen is we need to have those pinky toes pointing straight forward. But we live in a modern man-made world where a lot of our internal rotation gets taken away. And this position is what people are in life. Just external rotation, which is only half of their rotation from the neutral. They can also go, they meaning just anybody, myself included, the human body, internal from neutral, okay? Neutral, external, neutral, internal, right? If I had my feet like this, I could go external, neutral, internal, neutral. Just meaning now there's space to where my feet can come in and touch each other here, okay? Internally rotating, okay? So, what we have is a modern day, and people have a lot of lacking rotation, okay? Again, I was one of these people as well. I'm out here preaching what I have practiced, okay? That's the whole point. That's how I founded In The Image Clothing Company. It's out of personal experience, prayer and revelation, trial and error. Here I am, okay? Knowing what I now know, that there is a neutral, okay? Look at my hands and my feet here. And in this position, the video's title, right? Keeping feet in the outside of shoes. When I'm sitting here, if we take the whole sole of my Ridgeways by Zero Shoes, right? These boots, these beautiful boots, no affiliation with Zero Shoes as of today's date or up until, but I love them. I've been shouting them out just because they're awesome since right around the founding of In The Image Clothing Company, over a year ago, give or take. My feet are in the outsides of my shoe soles because that's just the position where the weight would be with gravity, sitting like this and neutral. okay? Like the outside of my heel, not directly down on my heel, definitely not on the inside of my heel, like this, right? But neutral, okay? Which is on the outside of the heel of my foot, okay? Boom. Because this is neutral. This is just the position my ankle is just going to track up and down in when I go plantar flexion or dorsiflexion. Plantar flexion or dorsiflexion, neutral. Where's that going to happen? Where all the feet bones can just clear each other, okay? Feet arches grip inward, opposing the center line of our bodies and keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity, okay? They grip in. The height of a gripped arch, like I referenced. If I did, I'm pretty sure I did. If not, now I have. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. The feet and the hands are just about the exact same thing. You grip your hand like this to get the pinky finger neutral. That's how the foot works, okay? And watch this height rise when I grip. Now look, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is just the shape of the arch of the foot, just the design of God's foot, truly. So, that's awesome. The outside of the shoes is where our feet sit. And I'll do some things. I'm in the sand intentionally because it's great to show how the feet work when they have to accommodate for the moving sand. When the feet are working naturally, as mine do, right? Just speaking out of experience, that's what I do here. In this role as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. In this for life, we're about the human body's natural functioning. Nothing to do with fashion. That word was functioning, by the way. The human body's natural functioning. I'm gonna tighten this right boot just slightly. I noticed that as I was walking over here. I walked probably, I don't know how many miles, but a few miles to get over here. And as I was walking, I noticed this right boot was just slightly looser than my left. So, ideally even. We got two sides to the body. Okay? Even. Okay? The weight gets placed in the outside of our shoe soles. The weight, just if we didn't have shoes on, is the point, really, is on the outside of our feet. When we grip an arch, I understand the noise, by the way. Blunt, bold, raw, real, In The Image Clothing Company. It is what it is, okay? The feet grip from the outside, from the pinky toe, really, right? Like this. We're pulling in. I mean, we can take all these inner fingers off and still grip inward with the hand to get neutral, showing what the feet do to get neutral. Okay? There's only one neutral. All the bones just have to clear each other. There's only one shape to the gripped arch. That's what I'm saying right now. Okay? And it comes from the outside. You can't grip inward from the inside. Like of the foot, you can't grip inward from your big toes. Okay? If your foot's out here in external rotation, you can't grip inward with pressure on the inside of your foot. You put pressure on the outside of your foot. Now look at this more neutral position here. And now from the outside, we grip and pull like my hand doing this. Okay, from the outside of it, pulling inward. Arches grip inward because there's a center line to the body. That's where the musculature comes, right? It comes up and there's adductors pulling inward in the legs. And just to get a neutral position of the foot, we grip from the outside here. Like I can take my hands and wrap them around the outside of my feet underneath my shoe soles where my pinky toes are, and I can really just pull, gripping inward with my feet like this, really pulling inward with the outsides of my feet. Okay, that's just how it all happens. That's how the arch grips. It's partially the length of the toes and how they're different. It's partially just the way that the musculature comes down through the ankle joint and into the feet. It's partially the shape of the underneath of the arch, how the inside is just higher than the outside underneath the arch, right? And the only way that can happen is if that's the side that's coming up when we grip in from the outside, right? So I'm trying to give a decent amount of explanation here, and regardless of trying, I just did, because I want to show this in a way where it's more than just like I just walk some paces back and forth in the sand and you can see that my feet have the weight on the outside of them, and I'm like, yeah, the feet work like this, look, walk like me. I want to explain it mechanically, because that's what we do under In The Image Clothing Company. We discuss things in such depth to where there's no possible way to believe us, right? Don't believe me, don't believe In The Image Clothing Company on the information we say or where problems are coming from. No, don't. But truth is truth. And so I explain things so thoroughly, I do all that I can to where there's no possible opinion or dispute. Clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. We'd say the same thing if we never had any good clothing to sell, or even if we never had any bad clothing to sell, but we won't do that either way, right? As much as we can help it, like, no. Shoot, I love this video. I'm slurring over my words because I'm so humbled by this. I love it. I just had terribly working feet for so many years, and now, part of it's the good brands doing good things. That's why I shout out Zero Shoes, the brand, so often. But my knowledge and understanding of shoelacing, shoe design, clothing, the body and its mechanics and how it works, I'm able to really move now. And it's so humbling, because I wasn't even able to do much at all in years of my life physically, being in love with movement, and ironically I was in pain all the time. But there's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? We have weight on the outsides of our feet. Like right here, you can tell, right? The weight's it's not directly under the rear of my heel. It's where my foot is neutral on the outside of my heel, right? Not directly under the heel, but it's on the outside of my heel. Now my hamstrings, these big muscles on the upper leg, on the rear of it, the rear of the upper leg, the hamstring muscles, they can pull, because our heel pulls to our glute, okay? Really our sit bone, or the ischium, which is the bone underneath our glute, or above our glute, I guess, if we're sitting down, okay? Like how the foot grips an arch, it actually grips the heel, and the toes pull together, okay? From the outside of the foot, okay? Like this. The height of a gripped arch, right? Now we're on the outside of our foot. Toes pulling to heel are like the heel pulling to the hamstring, really the heel pulling to the glute, and the hamstring's doing that, okay? We pull. The body comes to the center line, like I discussed in the beginning of this video, right? The musculature connects to the center line of the body, and now we're neutral, okay? If you try to push away from yourself, now you're only in external rotation. From here you can come in neutral, and from here you can go internal, right? It's only half the body's function when people are walking with their feet sticking out, is where I was going with all that, but it's beautiful. I love being able to explain it thoroughly, because I don't have an opinion on this. I know some people talk about pigeon toeing. Wow, I mean, I made a video, I think it was 2024, the year, in the fall, titled something like "Pigeon Toeing Isn't a Problem." That's just how the feet work. There's just different lengths in toe length. From the outside, pinky toe, to the inside, big toe, it just slants up and in. And we just put weight evenly across our toes. Our fingers just don't quite work the same way in length. Like our index finger here isn't the longest, and so it's not quite the same as pushing off really the middle finger of the hand being the longest. The longest toe is the big toe in the center, and so we just push even weight on the outside of our toes. It would just happen. If we never had anything placed onto us, our bodies would just work. Shout out to the dog barking. Oh, okay. And that's how the feet work. No opinion. That's just the neutral position for bones to clear each other without hitting into each other, without musculature being different in the amount of contraction on one side or the other. There's only a neutral to rotations. That's what I mean. It's physically impossible to train the human body. But if you're within shoelacing that's collapsing your arches, I don't know why they're barking so much. I'm not upset about it, but I think there's like a reason. Shout out to In the Image Clothing Company poodles, right? If you're within shoelacing that's collapsing your arches, if you have uneven shoe tying, you're tying both shoes to one side, right? You're just going to not have your ankle be able to be neutral. And why are they barking so much? And then you can't put weight on your feet the only way your feet work. I mean, that's the point. It's nothing to do with try to consciously put weight on a certain part of your foot, and I tell you, like the outside. No, never, never, never try to be conscious about what you're doing with your body in the sense of trying to like get it to do something. It's impossible, physically impossible. There's just a neutral, okay? There's no opinion, no way to train it. There's only a neutral to everything in the body. I don't know why they're barking so much. I just feel like it's intentional, you know, like something I'm supposed to understand from them barking so much. Okay, so the weight's on the outside of the feet. Look at me here, right? Outside of my feet. What if we were to stand up? How are you going to get off the ground from here? Well, you need your body in a mechanical position, no opinion, right? But just the way that it's going to be neutral, straight out those lower legs, neutral, down to the foot. Now I can stand up. Watch this. Because the weight is on the outside of my feet where the arches are pulling or gripping inward. This position, from here, just standing up, is the same thing. The feet are doing the same thing in that position as when I had my hands here on the outsides of my shoe soles, my zero shoes ridgeways, right? But the outside of my boot soles here, and I was pulling in with the outside of my pinky toes. This pulling position of the feet, like the outside of my pinky fingers here, pulling in and gripping, is the same position as I'm in here, neutral, okay? Not in too far, not out too far, not rotated this way or this way too far, just neutral in all the ways, really, right here. That's how I'm so stable and able to just stand up. The outside of my feet is where the weight is. As you can see, it's the only part of the shoe that's touching the ground, okay? Keeping feet in the outside of shoes, okay? Watch this. From here, what I am doing is gripping like this. Watch my feet grip, pulling. Oh, I'll do it like this and move the sand. Pulling from the outside of the toes, the outside of the feet, the pinky toes, if you will, right? That's where the weight is because that's where gravity is pulling me down from. Watch this. And then I stand up, okay? This is neutral. This is the same position I was sitting in, right? But now standing, this is neutral. This is the same position I was sitting in. The weight is on the outside of my shoe soles. My shoes, or my feet, actually, is how I word it, are in the outsides of my shoes, and that's how they can grip. So here, I'm still neutral. I'm always neutral. If I have weight on the outside of my feet like this, and I'm gripping inward from my pinky toes, and I'm within shoes that are no kind of like sales pitch, we don't get anything from it. But, right, laced within the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. It's just the only way the human feet are shaped. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason that we do it at all. Okay? Neutral. The weight's on the outside of my feet. My feet are in the outside of my shoes. Because the point is, watch this. It's so uncomfortable. It's so terribly damaging to the body. If I point my feet out, the weight will be more on the inside of my shoes. But look, the arch grips from the outside, pulling in, okay? And then there's actually a void or a blank space. The height of a gripped arch is on the inside of the foot, okay? They kind of come up like a triangle to the center of the body, the feet in height, from the outside to the inside. See what I mean? Okay? Neutral, here. So, what happens if we point our feet out, we collapse the inside of the foot, and now the ankle's kind of like terrible. It's pretty bad. It's such a terrible angle. Look at this neutral, straight from the knee down to the heel of my foot, or just the bottom of my feet on the inside of my shoe soles. Okay. There's a straight line, kind of like this slight outward curvature down. Okay. Even like this, I mean, right? A line. If I point my feet out, my arches will just collapse. Terrible angle on the ankle, okay? See this? The foot is the hand, the ankle is the wrist, the lower leg is the forearm. The human body, very simple, okay? Truly, very, very simple for everybody. I mean, that's how it is. Very simple. We just need to understand it. Okay? That's what we do here, under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Under any four sides of us where we do, but that's what it means to allow the body to work, right? So here we go. Okay, weight on the outside of the feet, keeping feet in the outside of your shoe soles, okay? Or just your shoes, inside of them. When you walk, we need to keep our feet just working naturally. And where we're gonna feel that when we have shoes on, the force in our feet and the weight on our feet, the sensory feeling inside of our shoes, it's always going to be on the outside of our shoes, okay? Because, yeah, it's just how it'll be. I don't even know what more I could explain about not putting weight on the inside of your feet, because I was gonna stand up and point my feet out and just show the arches collapse. I'm not even gonna do that, no. There's only one way the human feet work. But the point is, we walk around and we see people walking with their feet sticking out. Well, look, in order to even stick my fingers out, look at the angle of my wrist. Everything just binds up. That's how the feet are working in that case, right? It's like my hands. If I were to support myself with my hands, I'd be here, neutral. I wouldn't try to put my hands out like this. Look at my shoulders now. Listen to my voice now, right? My hands, neutral, on the outside of them, in a sense, right, is the same thing as my feet on the outside of them, okay? Keeping feet in the outside of shoes, okay? Otherwise, we just have incorrect mechanics and the body is just being damaged. I mean, this could really, really, really damage your shoulder from your hands. Whoa, you hyperextend your elbow, sticking out at the hands, right? Neutral, okay? I mean, picture a fighter, martial artist, neutral at the pinky, okay? Not like this, you break a wrist, you break an elbow, break a shoulder, dislocate something, pull some kind of muscle or ligament, tendon, something like that, whatever happens, you know, damage potentially. It happens all the time. And people's feet and ankles and knees and goes up to the hips, okay? Ha, shoot. Okay, it's as real as it gets. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. I'm just here to give information. And sell good products as well, but, right, here we are, neutral, okay? Outsides of the feet, neutral. Now, watch me walk. I don't know how much more explanation. I mean, this is awesome. I'm saying it out of like, this is amazing. I don't even know if I need to say any more necessarily, really. Just watch me walk through the sand if you want to. Do it, check it out. Here I am, okay, walking through the sand. As the sand moves, look what happens. The sand moves, and my ankle stays neutral. I'm on the outside of my foot. I'm in the outside of my shoe. Keeping feet in the outside of shoes. This video's title. That's why, right? That's why the video's here at all. Because walking here, you step and you slip, you're still neutral. You're so solid just because everything mechanically is in its neutral position. And from here, I can really roll out still, right? From here, I can collapse in, and now my knee is like in danger of blowing out. My hips are deactivating if I'm not neutral, okay? Like my hands, neutral. And so, yeah, as you walk through the sand, anything slippery or whatever, you know, as you're kind of just like jumping around, outside, boom, of the foot, neutral, okay? Down the whole leg from the hip. Because what happens, what causes this to not be able to happen is shoes, or pant waistlines, or oversized tops, or really anything through the entire body, but most directly shoes. If your shoes are laced in a way that just doesn't allow room for your arches, there's just not room for your arches. What I'm saying right now is imagine being in the house. Or picture this, if you've seen it in a movie or something, right? You're going to like the refrigerator in the middle of the night to like be quiet and not let anybody know you're sneaking some like food, okay? You watch it and you know, we see it, it's in cartoons, it's in movies, you do it, or just walking barefooted. The reason why I say those type of like ways of seeing it is because you don't have shoes on. No potential for heels on the shoes, no potential for incorrect shoe lacing or uneven shoe tying, okay? How the feet work when they're barefooted, this is how they work. There's always feet. There's the human body before the human body, meaning the human being, designed shoes that sometimes don't work at all for the only way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine. No possible opinion, only understandings to be developed, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with In The Image Clothing Company, no opinion possible to be had. Truth. That's what we do. We get down to truth under In The Image Clothing Company, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. When you're walking barefooted, you'll just do that. You'll like tiptoe, right? But tiptoeing isn't on the tip of your big toe, it's on the outsides of your feet. Tiptoeing is this position, where I already was before I just moved my right foot. Although it's your toes with your heels off the ground, like me right now. Neutral. Plantar flexed in a neutral position, straight out from the pinky, right? Straight down the outside of the leg, out the pinky toe, I'm just plantar flexed. Neutral, dorsiflex. Neutral, plantar flex, straight out the pinky. It's the outside of the foot because there's this hollowing on the inside of the foot where the arch grips. So that can't even get to the ground. You should basically never feel pressure in or out of shoes on the inside of your foot. The only way that could happen is if your arch collapses. Now there's pressure on the inside of your foot. It's a void space because it's two endpoints pulling together, gripping from the outside, and now there's a gap. That's what an arch is that void space under the inside of the foot. Like the inside of the foot toward the center line. The outside of the feet is where the pressure is, okay? Keeping feet in the outside of shoes, okay? Even like pushing, it's the outside of the feet. You can't, I mean, right here, I couldn't even push on the ground. If I tried to get the inside of my feet on the ground, I couldn't get there because physically, bones hit into each other in the ankle. There's no way I can get my big toe to the ground, but I can get my pinky toes to the ground and really push clear out here. Very, very plantar flexed from neutral, and then there's dorsiflexion from there, okay? Outside of the feet, look at this. And you know, I'm not trying to let you see up my shorts. I just realized that. It's okay, it's fine, but that's just not, I just didn't mean to be quite in that position for the video like that. I'm not used to having shorts on, you know. If I had long pants on, you wouldn't be able to see up my shorts, but it's fine, it's fine. I just want to address it. That's not my intention. No, that's fine. But that's the thing, right, is it's the outside of the feet. I can go from just a neutral flexion, right? Meaning pulling the toes up, dorsiflexion, versus neutral, and then pointing the toes down, plantar flexion, I can be in a neutral amount of flexion, and the weight's still on the outside of my feet, because now I've got even activation all the way up to the outside of my glutes and my abductors, the legs on the outside of the leg, and then the inside of my leg up into my adductors, and there's just even activation here, stable. That's how, again, in the neutral, I can just stand up, just because I've got even activation on the outside and the inside of the legs, because my foot and ankle joint and arch gripping is neutral. Outside of the feet. Keeping the outside of the feet with the pressure. What's the video titled? Keeping the feet in the outside of shoes. So I mean, no opinion. That's why I say it so thorough. And oh my gosh, do I say it thorough? That's me just praying gratitude. I mean, I love it, you know. I'm in this for life, man, doing this for everybody across the face of the earth. And those that are underneath it as well. If you're like tunneling or maybe in a submarine, you know, whatever it is. Astronauts too. No gravity there if you're in outer space, but you know, the feet still have their neutral position, whether there's gravity or not. It's a mechanical functioning, okay? The outside of the feet. The outside of the feet, I'm out here yelling about it, okay? Weight stays on the outside of the feet. That's just how the neutral is going to always, ever, and only be. God's design of the human being, no opinion, okay? Patterning is what it is. If you feel like you can't get here because you're more like here, and you just can't get neutral, patterning, okay? And we talk about it, you know, breaking up the scar tissue in the body, you know, the importance of even Achilles tendon insertions, the tendons on the rear of our lower leg that come to our heel of our foot from our calf muscle, okay? And that's the reason for the importance of proper height socks, right? The importance of the proper height socks, you know, I talk about they sit underneath the calf muscle, but above the ankle joint so that we don't alter the body's workings, okay? A deep discussion on the right Achilles tendon, a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company because of the right-handed world. On the outside of this Achilles tendon, meaning the outside of the heel of our right foot, we get a lot of scar tissue getting built up. Because if your foot's not tracking neutral, but you're tying a right-handed knot on your right foot, your foot's tracking off to the outside of it where that Achilles tendon inserts, and now it's actually inside with the weight, okay? The weight would be on the inside of your foot at that point when your foot goes external, okay? It's just mechanics because it grips from the outside, okay? I'm just a kid in a sandbox or a cat in a litter box. Really, I'm Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. I'm just explaining this in a way that there's no possible opinion, okay? I'm kind of yelling about it, I get it. I'm bold, dude. The truth is the truth, and I don't want to hold back, so I won't, okay? But, neutral, okay? Outsides of the feet. And so as you are watching me, you know, and there's still this footprint here in the sand, there's just motion on the outsides of the feet. I mean, I could stand up, besides the slipperiness to the sand, I can just stand up from sitting on the ground without even crossing my legs like I was doing earlier, you know. I can just stand up from a deep low squat as long as I can get my weight over my feet, you know, in the sand and everything. Let's see what I can do. Because the point is, I have to, well, point, okay, plantar flex my foot, and that's on the outside. I can't plantar flex on the inside like I'm saying. I will literally hit bones together. And when I say I, any human, unless you got a deformity, amputation, major surgery, birth defect, something altered your body or whatever, you're slightly or quite a bit different, okay. There's a universal human design though. We all need to get as close as we can to that because we're on the same earth with gravity pulling on us. And because of the fact that there is a universal human design, there's only one way the human body could ever work. That's in its baseline structure. That's the same for everybody, even if we as individuals are slightly outside of it, right? Anybody will have binding up in their ankle, bones actually clashing. I'm not saying like it'll be slightly uncomfortable. You're literally hitting bones into each other if you try to push off your big toes, like this, right? With weight on the inside of your feet. My shoulder, I can't even lift my shoulders with my feet in this position. It's physically impossible. It's a mechanical blockage. It closes off my hips, okay? And then my spine is connected into my hips. It comes up to my shoulders. I can't even lift my shoulders up, okay? But if I get my feet neutral, then I can get my shoulders neutral, and from there, I can come up, okay? I mean, there's just only one way the human body could ever work. You know, internal rotation, I mean, this is where dorsiflexion really comes from, is when your foot's inward, because it's not really inward more than neutral. Here, my pinky toe is actually straight forward, but the length of toes is different. We just roll off the outside of our toes when we walk. Not really the outside of our toes. We roll evenly off the ends of our toes, but it's the outside of our foot because of the difference in length of toes. It's not my design, not my choice. I don't have an opinion on this. It's not just like, oh, because my feet point in, yours should. It's because my feet point in, yours should, because that's how the human body works. That's how we clear all the bones in the feet. And it'll only ever happen if we have the weight on the outside of the feet, because that's the only way we can grip an arch, which happens from the outside, to even get neutral, to put weight down. Because you don't even have really full weight on your feet, even though it sounds kind of weird. I mean, truly, when your feet are sticking out, that's why your body like snakes front to back. You know, your pelvis tilts anterior or forward, your lower back sways, and your upper back curves, and your shoulders come forward, externally rotating, and your head comes forward. It's because your feet aren't on the outsides of them with the weight, and you're not neutral, but you're externally rotated, and you can't even speak. I mean, I'm not joking about it. That's why I want to make it like kind of over the top, to really hit the point. This is the only way you'll ever possibly do it. Is allowing, is what I mean. There's only one way you can ever approach the human body to get it to work: allowing it to do what the designer of it designed it to do. We design shoes. We design all sorts of clothing with all sorts of rotated seams. In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. Okay, these things travel through the entire body. The entire body can only ever work activated as a whole. It's all there with a role to play. You can't drag around dead weight. No compensation can be had. Everything has a different function. The feet's only function is gripping an arch to a neutral and just relaxing there. And outside of that neutral, we've got all sorts of motion, but only if we reside in the neutral. There's only one way you can have it happen. There's no possible way to train a gripped arch, to train calves to do something. Your calves, calf muscles. There's no possible way to train your shoulders to do something. There's only a neutral. In every sense of all things in the human being, it's physically impossible to get the body to do anything. It's a mechanical machine. It's designed by God to work. So, we talk about a lot of things with shoes, like I was saying, that'll directly affect the feet. You gotta have your heels on the ground. You have to. You know, because that's what we talk about it. You put a heel under the foot, okay? And now just because of the difference in length of toes, your pinky toe can't even grip the ground. You lift your heel off the ground and your pinky comes off because it's shorter. It's only designed to work how it's designed to work. It's God's design. We have no choice. We have no say. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. One of our fours where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 177 as of today's date. Okay. We just discuss life as it is. You don't have to be religious, but we're all human beings on the same earth. We're designed by one God, Jesus Christ. We talk about him and discuss him as he says that he is. We're imperfect, and so we don't do that perfect, but he is perfect, okay? The designer of the human body, the creator of all things, okay? The one who makes it able, to be a possibility for me to be sitting here just yelling at a little device in 2025 to give human beings information across the entire earth with eternal truths. This video does last for eternity. The human body's design will never change. What's needed to allow the body to work will always be the same thing, because if we never had anything besides just nature, the body would just work. We've got these unnatural things we call shoes and clothing in this modern man-made world. When we talk about sitting and standing and walking and sleeping and these things that, aren't determined by shoes, but a lot of them are determined by the modern man-made world. Sitting in a chair height, just a height that's become naturally what we make chairs out of, but it's an unnatural height, or what we make chairs into, right? There's a certain height. We put weight on the hamstrings, these muscles, I was saying, right? You pull the heel to the glute, or the heel to the ischium, or sit bone, the hamstring activates. You sit on a chair, your hamstring deactivates. Now your feet point out, because it starts at the feet and comes up. The activation of the human body is a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. The feet are the foundation. They grip the ground for the rest of the body to work. And they can only do that on the outsides of them. With everything else tracking in its neutral, you cut off the hamstrings, you lose your ankle neutrality, and your foot's gripped arch. One size fits the really tall guy. An episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast talked about how chairs are just too tall for everybody. Just about. I'm 6'2", you know, just for context. Much taller than the average human across the entire planet. And so I actually have an easier mechanical advantage because of something I didn't decide, just my height. But we all live in the same world, so one size doesn't fit all. One size fits the really tall guy. The person who can clear the chair with their hamstrings and keep their foot able to work. Okay? see what I mean? It'd be like this. Deactivating any muscle in the body travels to the entire body. The hamstrings are huge physically. They're big muscles. Long, you know, they take up a big area, the whole upper leg, from the glute area down to the knee joint. I mean, you can clear up from the hips to the knee, okay? The hamstrings. And the body pulls to its center line. It can only do that from the feet, from the part that can get to the ground, the outsides of them. Just mechanically. You can't reach your big toes to the ground in a position like this. Okay, you can stretch to it all you want. You're pulling and elongating your muscles. Maybe you can get there, but the rest of your body's compensating. And your core would have to deactivate to change your lower back position to get your feet to be on the insides of your shoes. Keeping feet on the outside of the shoes. Keeping the elbows at the natural waist. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. There's only a neutral to the human body. There's only one way it could ever work. It's clothing, truly the only fix, no opinion. Because there wouldn't need to be a fix if we didn't have an alteration be had to the only way the human body could ever work. So I sit like this, right? In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We're on episode 177. I'm pretty sure every single one of them, except for the very first one titled The Launch, I've been sitting on the ground. Or, wherever it is, it's on a flat, ground type flatness. Just about every one of them, if not every one of them. But, right? This is how I sit. And I sit here and I talk to the camera. It's about my head height. And you don't see my feet if the camera's not picking up my feet. But look, this is what they look like. They're neutral. Down from the knee all the way to the heel of the foot, the very bottom of the foot. And the inside of my foot's not even touching the ground. It couldn't without collapsing my ankle angle and collapsing my feet arches. Okay? I can do this, and you see people doing this and trying to hold themselves up because their feet can't grip. Whoa, I'm vertical. Whoa, I'm collapsed. The insides of my feet in this position right here are trying to touch the ground. Incorrect shoelacing, okay? Uneven shoe tying, you're just not gonna be able to evenly oppose the center line, so your left foot can basically grip and your right one can't, right? In right-handed shoe tying, you're just pulling your right foot off to the outside. And now it's like, man, I can't support my body. Well, it's because the outside of your foot is what grips. I mean, watch the angling. It's just mechanics. Watch where we go from the outside of the foot here, up the knee, up the upper leg, up the hip area, through the spine, to the shoulder, out to the hand and the head. Jaw stabilizing the entire body. You got uneven shoe tying to the right. Boom, boom. You're pulling your right foot out. Your left foot is able to be on the outside of it. Keeping feet in the outside of shoes can happen for most right-handed people. Tying right-handed knots, it will happen. Here you are. You're tied over toward the center line with a knot on the left foot in a right-handed knot, but you tie a right-handed knot on the right foot, you're pulling your foot outside, it can't grip in. There's a physical rope, okay, pulling it. Outward. I mean, this is what it is, bro. No opinion. This is In The Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life. It's nothing to do with us. We're just the ones giving the information. I mean, I got this information authentically out of just prayer, but, you know, and all that I've done to get here as of today's date, but it's nothing to do with us. We couldn't take credit for it. And you don't have to believe us, but you have to do this. The stuff that we discuss, that's why we're discussing it. There's only one way the human body could ever work. I mean, I couldn't explain it this thoroughly and have it be like, well, yeah, sure, but certain people. No, it's a mechanical machine, bro. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? And I'm eccentric. I'm loud. I'm a little bit, you know, authentic. I am who I am, bro, and I love that. I love that. So here we are, okay? Neutral, that's the point. Here, I'm neutral. You have to be. Because you're tying shoes unevenly to the right. Your right foot's just collapsed in the arch. The whole right side of the body's in a gripped arch distance lower than the left. Even in the face and the head and the jaw and the shoulder, everything's being pulled on through the entire body. The pelvis is twisted, and here you are, because you tied your shoes unevenly to the right, and maybe you just didn't know. I didn't know until I was 24 years old. But you're just not going to be able to grip from the outside of your foot if we're not tying shoes evenly over toward the inside. I mean, it's just a knot of a rope with one side over the other. In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. The only way the human feet are shaped. No opinion. It doesn't exclude anybody. Even people in wheelchairs or paralyzed. You still got your leg dangling there. If you tie it so it's pulling off to the side like this, just on Earth's gravity and, you know, mechanically, doesn't matter if you can even have feeling in your feet. It's still connected to your head and your fingertips from your foot. It's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? In the Image Clothing Company, we give the truth. Don't believe us, but you listen to this video, you can have a possible say over if what I'm saying is valid or not. Gratitude. I mean, praying immense gratitude. This is what we do, man. So, gripping inward, neutral. That's what I'm saying. You know, you don't have the weight on the outside of your right foot in tying both shoes to the right. And you couldn't sit like this because your right foot just can't support your body. So then people, you know, they don't know what to do. It's like, well, why can't I support myself? It's nothing to do with training your shoulders. It's nothing to do with trying to train your back. It's your right foot. And now you got internal rotation, and now you've just got neutrals to the body. The outside of the feet. Okay? Internal, external, right? But yeah, that neutral, okay? We roll off the ends of the big toe, and that's not the truth. Why did I say it like that? I guess that's what I mean is, I was just an external rotation. You try to roll off the ends of your big toe, well, golly, your whole pelvis is twisted forward, your knees are cocked, the weight's on the inside of your feet in this incorrect location right here. The weight is on the outside of the feet. Now we're just neutral through the body, keeping feet in the outside of shoes. This video's title, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. I don't want to fling dirt into my eyes, but I want to do something cool. Whew! I don't even know for sure if that was in frame. Outside of the feet. Then you can be like Spider-Man, no joke. Really what I'm saying is just there's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? In the Image Clothing Company music is another one of our fours, the last one to mention here. We do a lot through showing sizing and setup of guitar to not alter things like that neutral wrist. We make music, metronome madness is one of the things we do. Freestyle, rhythm and poetry, singing, guitar, right? All the things that we get into with music. So stick around, brother. There's four sides to us. We do a lot. We'll do more as the team builds. Here in St. George, Utah is where I am currently. We're based in southern Utah, okay? We'll have our actual building when it gets built where we can house the poodles, we can sell our clothing out of, we can have the team be, you know, we can have just a central place for us to be. It won't be like an actual store you come in to buy clothing, by the way, but you know, where we ship our clothing from and all that we do. Poodle parade events here in the state of Utah, the United States of America. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size or poodle mixes of any size. We'll get people into nature, dogs into nature, do a lot of beautiful stuff outside, and just have a good time. You know, just getting people down to their authentic self and, you know, doing all that we do, that you know we do up until today's date, and then, you know, what we do as we continue to grow as In The Image Clothing Company. A lot of the stuff that you can see on In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and just how we're real, we're rooted in the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's only truth to life, right? Keep your feet in the outside of your shoes, like me here. Shout out to Zero Shoes like I did. No affiliation, but maybe one day, maybe never. Either way. Good people doing good things. That's what we do, you know, keeping less dogs in shelters, more dogs at homes through In The Image Clothing Company poodles and letting dogs stay natural. We talk about interacting with your dog as the owner, you know, holding leashes naturally, feeding dogs, hydration for dogs, collars, leashes, harnesses, keeping them centered. We talk about human beings keeping collars centered, you know, In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. I referenced it in this video. Just keeping collars centered, you know, removing all tags from clothing. One of our 2 prerequisites, the other one being In The Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, right? Tags are only decades old as of today's date in clothing. So in addition to where we talk about when we mention where clothing sits for everybody, those 2 things are our 2 prerequisites. Removing all tags in clothing and In The Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. You know, in addition to all the things we just talk about as well, you know, in clothing that's needed and necessary. But dog collars are often so imbalanced and damaging the dogs, and, you know, harnesses and leashes can be, in similar ways, really damaging the dogs. We do a lot. We do things with good organizations, you know, and things like dog shelters and, you know, animal shelters, working with people, just doing good things similar to us, right? Always just allowing the body to work, letting dogs stay natural, gearing everything around the gospel of Jesus Christ. We'll give all the same information we've been giving since the beginning, because it's always on the back end. You can only allow the body to work because God designed it. You can only let dogs stay natural if there's a natural to be had, and if somebody designed the dog and not us. Okay? So thank you. Today's the 10th of November, 2025. Shout out to St. George, Utah. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I know I said it, but I want to make it clear, I'm in this for life, okay? We'll only deepen this as we go, right? So, thank you. Shout out to my cool little car wheel there. That was awesome. Okay. Goodbye.